Yasodanandana Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Srimad Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Gaur Premanandi, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Lotus feet of Shri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye Nasta Prayeshu Bhadresu. Skip one. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama. Is that the next one? Bhagavati Uttamam Sloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistiki. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 18, text number 26. On the board so we can repeat it. Pratirudindriya. Pratirudindriya.
That's not on the board.
Oh, that's not on the board?
No.
What's on the board? Nothing?
There's two from yesterday.
Oh, okay, so I'll just read it. Pratirudindriya prana mano buddhim uparatam stanatrayat param praptam brahmabhutam avikriyam. Pratirudindriya prana mano buddhim uparatam stanatrayat param praptam brahmabhutam avikriyam. One more time. Pratirudindriya prana manubuddhim uparitam stanatrayat param praptam brahmabhutam avikriyam. Okay, word for word. Pratiruda. Restrain. Yeah, restrain. Indriya. The sense organs. Prana. Air of respiration. Manaha. The mind. Buddhim. Intelligence. Upaditam. Inactivity. Sthana. Places. Trayat. From the three. Param. Transcendental. Praptam. Achieved. Brahmabhutam. Qualitatively equal with the Supreme Absolute. Avikriyam. Unaffected. Okay, translation, please repeat. The mind's sense organs. Breath. Mind. And intelligence. Were all restrained. From material activities. And he was situated in a trance. Apart from the three. Wakefulness. Dream. And unconsciousness. Having achieved the transcendental position. Qualitatively equal with. The Supreme Absolute. One more time, I'll read it. The Muni sense organs, breath, mind, and intelligence were all restrained from material activities. And he was situated in a trance apart from the three, wakefulness, dream, and unconsciousness. Having achieved the transcendental position, qualitatively equal with the Supreme Absolute. Okay, Srila Prabhupada's purport. It appears that the Muni, in whose hermitage the king entered, was in yogic trance. The transcendental position is attained by three processes. Namely, the process of jnana, or theoretical knowledge of transcendence. Thank you. The process of yoga, or factual realization of trance, by manipulation of physiological and psychological functions of the body. And the most approved process of bhakti yoga, or the engagement of senses in the devotional service of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita also, we have the information of the gradual development of perception from matter to a living entity. Our material mind and body develop from the living entity, the soul, and being influenced by the three qualities of matter, we forget our real identity. The jnana process theoretically speculates about the reality of the soul, but Bhakti Yoga factually engages the spirit soul in activities. The perception of matter is transcended to still subtler states of the senses. The senses are transcended to the subtle mind, and then the breathing activities, and gradually to intelligence. Beyond the intelligence, the spirit soul is realized by the mechanical activities of the yoga system, or practice of meditation, restraining the senses, regulating the breathing system, and applying intelligence to raise to the transcendental position. This trance stops all material activities of the body. The king saw the Muni in that position. He also saw the Muni as follows, and that we'll hear about tomorrow. So I'll read the verses again, beginning from the first one, since the story had just begun. Once upon a time, Maharaj Parikshit, while engaged in hunting in the forest with bow and arrows, became extremely fatigued, hungry, and thirsty while following the stags. While searching for a reservoir of water, he entered the hermitage of the well-known Saumika Rishi, and saw the sage sitting silently with closed eyes. The Muni's sense organs, breath, mind, and intelligence were all restrained from material activities, and he was situated in a trance apart from the three: wakefulness, dream, and unconsciousness. Having achieved a transcendental position qualitatively equal with the Supreme Absolute. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. I'll read the purport again. It's not that long, only one paragraph. Okay. It appears that the Muni, in whose hermitage the king entered, was in yogic trance. The transcendental position is attained by three processes, namely the process of jnana, or theoretical knowledge of transcendence, the process of yoga, or factual realization of trance, by manipulation of the physiological and psychological functions of the body, and the most approved process of bhakti yoga, or the engagement of senses in the devotional service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, also, we have information of the gradual development of perception from matter to a living entity. Our material mind and body develop from the living entity, the soul. And being influenced by the three qualities of matter, we forget our real identity. The jnana process theoretically speculates about the reality of the soul. But Bhakti Yoga factually engages the spirit soul in activities. The perception of matter is transcended to still subtler states of the senses. The senses are transcended to the subtler mind, and then to breathing activities, and gradually to intelligence. Beyond the intelligence, the living entity is realized by the mechanical activities of the yoga system, or practice of meditation, restraining the senses, regulating the breathing system, and applying intelligence to rise to the transcendental position. This trance stops all material activities of the body. The king saw the Muni in that position. He also saw the Muni as follows. So we'll get to hear about that tomorrow, the other way he saw the Muni, which was basically he saw him as being hypocritical, that he was pretending to be in trance and he really wasn't. But there is a state of trance that can be achieved by these three different processes. We don't see many successful yogis here in the Western world. I mean, we see some hatha yogis, and as well as people who perform the breathing process and people who attempt to sit in trance. But we really don't see that degree of perfection where they become qualitatively one with the Supreme Absolute. That's a really deep trance beyond, as Prabhupada gives in his purport, beyond the ordinary wakeful consciousness that we're well aware of, as well as dreaming and just when we're in full deep sleep, unconsciousness. So it's beyond these that people have little perception of in our modern world. So the problem is that we never really transcend false ego. We never really get out of the material identity, which is created due to forgetfulness of our spiritual self and then the influence of the three modes of material nature. So we tend to think of ourselves as the nature that has been imposed upon us by matter. We consider ourselves such and such a person, intelligent person, or person who can figure things out, can analyze things, can understand others. And this way we make our judgments in life, never really coming to the position of Brahmabhuta, qualitatively one with the Absolute, whereby we see everyone in that situation. And we also see the material modes of nature. When people are completely enamored by those modes of nature, then we have a world that we're pretty much familiar with. A world where they can't get along politically. There's economic unfairness. There's also quite a few people who can't even gratify their senses, and therefore people are extremely frustrated in life. And there's even people like Maharaj Parikshit in this particular state who are hungry, even people who are thirsty, and people who are fatigued from having to work so long just to pay government taxes and try to pay their house note to live somewhere and to buy some boga to eat. So that's the situation in the world due to this bodily conception of life in the Kali Yuga. At least in other times, people have a much better life, much better material life. But still, it's unfortunate that we identify so deeply with it that we never transcend it. Life is so good, why bother to transcend it? That's probably the case for most of the people in the world. If life is really good, then why bother practicing yoga? Because, they would practice yoga like they do today to simply make this material world, better. Make our material life better. Make our material body better. That's why we practice. A lot of people, the vast majority of people practice yoga for those reasons. But, yoga is meant to help us to transcend the world. And there's a real life beyond this world. There's a real mentality. There's a real intelligence that exists beyond, the intelligence and the mind and the way of thinking that we find in this world. And that is most easily attained not through the yoga process in this age, because as I've mentioned, there's not many people successful to that degree. And there's not many people who even have the inclination that that's what it's all meant for. And what to speak of jnana yoga, Their theoretical thinking is generally done in terms of psychology. They really never get on a spiritual platform, although there are quite a few theologians that speculate day and night about God. That's a fact. And about the soul. So, that does exist, but we don't find many people actually transcending nowadays. It's a shame, but it's not complete darkness. As we know, Lord Chaitanya has descended, and he's teaching everybody Bhakti Yoga. Lord Chaitanya didn't become a yogic mystic, or he didn't continue to pursue a life of Gyan, although he was the greatest of these Jnana yogis. He could converse with the best of them and defeat them all and teach them all sorts of things about the Vedas, about Vedanta, the conclusion of knowledge. But ultimately, and for the vast majority of his life, Lord Chaitanya taught people Bhakti Yoga. And that is what Srila Prabhupada brought to the Western world. Prabhupada didn't become a successful yoga teacher as far as dollars and cents went. Even though, and you looked at from another point of view, yes, he did. But his organization was always non-profit. And that means that no individual can accumulate the profits. It has to go to the mission of the organization, although people can be paid a wage. Prabhupada never took much of a wage. I think at the end he took a little pension to give his wife before he left this world. And of course, he was provided with the things he needed, like, his tape recorder to do the work. And, he was, given rods and automobiles, and he was given new clothes and food, and, just the things that we need in life. Like Krishna says, like the Upanishad says, everything animate and inanimate within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. Therefore, one should take only those things necessary for himself, which is set aside as his quota, and not other things, knowing well to whom they belong. So Prabhupada was really a great example of that. He seemed to have so much, but really it was his organization that owned so much. It wasn't him. And that is what a non-profit organization is. It's an organization created to fulfill some mission, and the people who work for it, or the directors of it, those who give to it, they're not meant to make any of the profits. They're not meant to enjoy that money. And, that we could see in Prabhupada's organization. That Prabhupada never could be accused of doing something like that. So in one sense, he did run a successful yoga studio as far as actually creating wealth. But the wealth never became his wealth. Like most of these yoga teachers, it becomes their wealth. It's not a non-profit organization. It's a commercial organization whereby the profit holders or the people who own the company, who own the organization, they can enjoy the profit or they can enjoy the loss. One or the other, they can, just get by paying the bills. So Prabhupada's organization is there teaching Bhakti Yoga to people. And, we influence people all over the world who are working ordinary jobs. They're simply, in terms of the Vedas, they're simply wage earners. They're karmakandi. They practice karma yoga. They practice no yoga. They may just be, it's commonly called karmis or fruited workers, people who work for the results of their work. So, but Prabhupada, although 99% of the people are like that, Prabhupada is actually giving all these people Bhakti Yoga. whereby they, even while performing fruited work, people can engage in the practice of bhakti yoga and attain perfection in life. So then with the speak of people who consider themselves yogis and who maybe aren't engaged so much in ordinary work in the world, but they're actually a few people who may be seriously trying to practice yoga. That's what they do. And maybe they even teach it. That's what they do. If they teach it and they're deriving a lot of money from that, then we could say they're also engaged in fruited work. But if they're doing it for the money. If the money is just going into teaching others, then that's maybe another thing. And so there's probably not many people who are just doing it to attain perfection and who are renounced, actually, from fruited work. There's probably not many of those type of people in the world, but if there are, then we can also give them bhakti yoga. One example of that is our devotee out in Los Angeles. Can't remember, Amala Bhakta. Amala Bhakta was a yoga teacher from way back in the 1950s through the 60s and on. He was very prominent in Los Angeles. And he became a bhakti yogi. And he absorbed his mind simply in hearing and chanting about Krishna, and as we know, he created a huge tape ministry. That was way back when things weren't tapes and then CDs, and now they're putting them on, digital, disk drives for people, or you just download it into your computer. But, he would simply speak the Bhagavatam, he would speak the Krishna book, he would speak the Gita, he would read it. And people would listen to him, and that became his career. He actually became a bhakti yogi. He elevated himself to a bhakti yogi to fix his mind simply on Krishna and transcend this world. So there are a few people like that in the world. And there's probably a few, gyanis. Maybe they live in India, maybe they're up in the Himalayan mountains, but, they're actually ascertaining the difference between spirit and matter, and they're trying to live like spirit again. So they can also get bhakti yoga. But Lord Chaitanya is so kind that he's given it to all of our brothers and sisters in the world. All of our, because we all came from the ordinary world. And so that gives us a good opportunity, though, to relate to one another in the world. And it makes it a little bit easier to preach to people or to give people Krishna consciousness because we can understand them. Because we also at one time had that type of mentality. We also at that time had those types of modes of nature affecting us and making us act as ordinary human beings in the ordinary material world. So it becomes a little bit easier to meet and shake hands with a person and to give them the gift of bhakti yoga. And at the same time ask them to help us to continue giving that gift by paying for the printing cost of the material that we're giving them. Or, the neck beads that we give them. Or even the prasadam that we give them. That's not unusual. That's actually the duty of non-profit organization to collect funds in order to carry out the work of that organization, which of course in our case is to give bhakti yoga to people. And that's also part of our practice of bhakti yoga. When one can advance to a point to where they get the nectar of being able to go out and give that gift to others. And in material consciousness it can be hard unless one identifies with just being a salesman and is really, really enthusiastic about accumulating results. It may be easy for that type of person. And, it could be easy for, some powerful Kshatriya type of person who easily influences people just by the sound of their voice and the look of their physique. They may be able to distribute so many books just by their own material potency. But, for the pure devotees, then, they're just out there really giving the nectar of Lord Chaitanya's mercy. They can enter into a great mood of compassion. Naturally, they feel some compassion because, just look at the state of the world. Can you imagine? Like, I look at our culture. Mother Jai Patni's probably a bit familiar with it. people who are from the South here, certainly Angie's familiar with it. I mean, can you believe people take innocent creatures and they boil them in a pot, alive, and then they eat them? I mean, what kind of sinful reaction comes from something like that? It's terrible. But our world is so full of violence, and we wonder where the violence comes from. But yet, our culture glorifies such things. Then, what to speak about the large mammals, that people don't even think about. So, it's so Prabhupada, he saw this as a world burning down, and that we had to hurry up and do something because the house is burning down. So we have to get out there and actually, just like these politicians, they're saying everything's going to hell, we have to stop the debt. We have to change things, and they get so fired up. So in the same way, devotees, they see that the world's going to hell because of all the sinful activity going on. Therefore, the only solution is, bhakti yoga. We have to somehow give people bhakti yoga because, how can we change them? I mean, it's hard enough changing ourselves. First of all, change yourself. It's hard enough doing that. What to speak about trying to change somebody else. So all we can really do is give people something that will affect the change. It doesn't matter if they know they're going to change or not. That's not important. It's like somebody who's dying of a disease, and the doctor gives them an injection to save their life. It's not important that they know that that's going to save their life. Even if they ask, they say, no, I don't want no shot. Oh, it's not a shot, it's candy. Take this candy. And so they take it. Doesn't matter if they know it's going to work or not. So the same way, we just giving mercy. Devotee, you can imagine the devotee who's like really in that state of Krishna consciousness. I mean, they're just completely absorbed in being able to give mercy. So that Brahma Bhuta platform, and that's a perfect example of somebody on a Brahma Bhuta platform, because these devotees who are actually in such Krishna consciousness, they don't even discriminate. It's like I was reading a post that Drew Miller made about when he played Santa Claus back in Long Beach. Is that it? Long Beach? I think it's Long Beach, California. Laguna Beach. He was at Laguna Beach Temple. And for 3 years he played Santa Claus, and his partner was some devotee named Krishna Kirtan. I often wonder if that's the Krishna Kirtan who came from Monroe, Louisiana, and went to Los Angeles. He was a musician, and he took initiation. He did have some kind of name that had Kirtan in it. It may have been Krishna Kirtan. I don't know if it's the same one. Anyhow, he tells how they would go into ballrooms and they would see all the guys, and he tells all these stories where they go into these places where people are just deep in the dark modes, but somehow they give them Krishna consciousness and they engage with them in helping the Sankirtan movement. They walk out jolly and in ecstasy. To this day, the guy can't stop doing the same thing. He's derived so much transcendental pleasure from it, he still has to do that to remain happy and equipoised in life, Maybe there were ever things that he wasn't so successful at in his devotional practices, but when it came to just going out and giving Krishna consciousness, he's met with some success in that service. So that's wonderful. He tells this one story where he goes into a butcher shop. And everybody's in line to get their meat. And so he just starts going down the line. Ho, ho, ho! It's Santa here! Here! Take your candy cane, whatever, he says his thing, and everybody's they're giving. It's Christmas time, and here's Santa Claus come right into the butcher shop. And so they're getting off on him. Drew Miller, he's not shy, and he's not coming with his head hanging down. Can you give a little something to our organization? We're just trying to spread love of God. It's the Hare Krishna movement, and you got a bunch of Christians standing in line, So, no, he's coming in there and he's like jolly old Santa, and he's engaging them. And so owner comes out. And she's a Korean lady. And she's saying, what do you think you're doing? What do you think you're doing in my business? And everybody turns around and they're looking at her. She says, get out of here right now. And so Drumili thinks what to do now. So he looks at her. He says, oh, no, you better be good. And she goes into a rage with her broken English, and Drumila keeps up the Santa Claus thing, and all the people are busting out laughing, They can't get over it, because, they're all Americans, and Drumila's an American, and then there's this Korean lady who happens to be the owner of the shop who, is just becoming in one sense unfortunate, but, from a transcendental sense, very fortunate, because she can't stop Santa from doing this, So anyway, he tells that story. So it's just amazing how transcendental Lord Chaitanya's movement can be, that beyond so many things, devotees have been able to go out and pass out the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is none different from Krishna. It's the cream of all Vedic knowledge. And as Prabhupada himself said, just by touching it, a person's life can become successful. But, we can imagine how many sinful reactions people can get rid of just by having the Bhagavatam in their house. People need something to save them from, these malechas and yavana cultures, which completely engage us in all sorts of sinful activities from the day we're born to the day we die. So one of those powerful spiritual things that can help us is simply to get the Bhagavatam in the form of a book and to just have that in one's house. It may not seem like much, but it doesn't take much of Krishna to eradicate, these huge, very bad and troubling sinful reactions. That's the power of Krishna. And, and the amazing thing is that Krishna makes these arrangements to help the people in the world. He made the arrangement that his pure devotee, the most powerful Kshatriya on earth, the son of Indra, and amazing, Arjuna is, he's the son of Indra, and, his mother is Kunti, who comes in the dynasty coming from the moon god. But, so Kunti is also Krishna's aunt, because that's Vasudeva's sister. Let me think for a moment. Anyway, I was thinking that there was some interaction with the sun dynasty as well as the moon dynasty together, but I may be wrong about that. So anyhow, Arjuna is the most powerful person. These Kshatriyas, they never really fall into lamentation and doubt about doing their duty. Just like Bhakta John, generally speaking, he's always eager to work. He likes doing his duties. I mean, if you give him a chance to rake something or to lift something or to dig something, I mean, he can get into it. He has no doubt about his duty. Or you find some car salesman. They have no doubt that their duty is to sell cars. They're expert at it. They'll do it day and night. And you can walk in and you're like in a spider's web, I mean, you can't walk out without buying a car. So Arjuna, he's not a person falling into any doubt about doing his duty, but by Krishna's arrangement, he does. And consequently, the Bhagavad Gita is spoken, and consequently, today we can distribute it. And the same with Srimad Bhagavatam. This person, Parikshit Maharaj, he's not the type of person who gets hungry and thirsty and gets fatigued from just chasing some deer. He's the kind of guy who can stand up in battle and fight all day long, you know, without having to take a lunch break. You know, so how this happens by the power of Krishna's energy, you know, his yoga maya. Just like ordinary people like ourselves come under the influence of Mahamaya, and, you know, we get fatigued, you know, we get very hungry, and we get thirsty, and we probably get cranky if we can't satisfy those needs. So, same thing happened with Parikshit Maharaj. And, you know, it got him so upset that he, as we find out later in the story, you know, he does something that leads ultimately to this Bhagavatam being spoken, so that today we can distribute it. You know, that's absolutely amazing that Krishna has made these arrangements so long ago that these things can go on today in Lord Chaitanya's movement. And Lord Chaitanya's movement is so nice. They distributed these things, but at that time in the culture, the things were mainly spoken by the Brahmins or the devotees, because you couldn't mass produce a lot of these palm leaf books. Most of the books were written by hand onto this kind of like palm leaf paper. And so, you know, one Brahmin may have this book, and, you know, and he speaks it or recites it for people. You know, that's how people had their tape recorders and their audio machines in order to learn. They would hear from Brahmins. It was like a personal thing. You know, you didn't have to have a machine that somebody spoke and 1,000 people could listen to it. You know, you actually had to have a Brahmin there who would chant it. So, but in our day and time, Lord Chaitanya's movement still goes out and sings, but now we have things, you know, on paper or on audio disc drives. We also distribute like that, or people can simply go on a computer and download an app and have it. But still, as Prabhupada said, the books are the basis. You know, that's our movement was built on the books, practically speaking. You know, that's how we built the Bombay Temple. That's how we built the temple in Vrindavan, the temple in Mayapur, and how we actually paid for most of our temples throughout the world. That the devotees live in and become like centers for going out and preaching. Or even on farms, although we paid for some of our farms by distributing books and collecting donations, but we paid for a lot of it by selling spiritual sky incense with Krishna on the package, and then also selling an awful lot of simply commercial art in order to pay against mortgages. So we engaged just ordinary work in Krishna's service. You know, we can't understate the significance of Prabhupada's book distribution. What's unique is that Prabhupada arranged for the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust to print those books and be the sole printers of those books. And that the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust would double their printing, after paying the expense or to have the book printed, they would double that and sell it to the temple. And that profit would be used for very special things in ISKCON. Such as the building of the Bombay Temple, such as the building of the Vrindavan Temple, such as the building of the Mayapur Temple. Purchasing of properties, the Bhaktivedanta Institute, and so many other things. So sometimes, people, they find, they make some criticism. They say Bhaktivedanta Book Trust International, they're not following the rules Prabhupada laid down for Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. But the fact of the matter is that just this year alone, $500,000 has been sent to the Temple of Vedic Planetarium from the profits made from book distribution. So when we buy Bhaktivedanta Book Trust books, we're supporting ISKCON. Whereas if you buy, some books from somewhere else, there's no, it certainly isn't supporting ISKCON. It may be helping those individuals, or it may be going into printing more books to distribute books. There's not many people who can do that, but there are there is a group that can do that. That's separate from ISKCON. But all the devotees who are members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness are encouraged to distribute Bhaktivedanta Book Trust books because those books support ISKCON. So anyhow, I guess that's pretty much it. We should be guaranteed that by following the Bhakti Yoga process, we can also come to the Brahmagupta platform and see, everything equally. See, meaning that, how does Prabhupada say that? I thought I just read something like that. Maybe it was in the, must have been in the Chaitanya Charanamrita we were reading this morning. That on the spiritual platform, when you see everything on the spiritual platform, because there are no material modes of nature, everything is just one. Otherwise, how can we understand verses like the sage on the Brahmagupta platform? They see a rock, an ordinary rock. They see dirt, and they see gold. It's the same. It's the same to them. How could people like Sanatana Goswami not care much for a touchstone? Something that can make everything into money. Why would he not care for that? Why was he so much absorbed just in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra as being more valuable than having a touchstone? So we can also, we have the rest assured that our practice of Bhakti Yoga does lead to the conclusion of renunciation. That we do, as the Bhagavatam promises, become detached. Just by practicing Bhakti Yoga, we become detached from the ordinary world. I mean, it just seems ordinary. It just seems like Krishna's material energy. And it's not something very attractive. We don't want to really get absorbed in having to take birth again, even if we become a rich person, or even a deva, or whatever. We don't want to really have to associate with it anymore. There's a much better world beyond this world, and we're one of Krishna's associates. And that is achieved through the practice of Bhakti Yoga, especially in this day and age. It's been made so easy that it's being given away to the most common people, and everyone has the opportunity to achieve perfection in this very simple process of chanting Hare Krishna and hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, taking Krishna Prasadam, and becoming detached from the material world. So I'll conclude on that. That sounds like a good note to conclude on. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Thank you.
So, any comment here concerning all this? Anybody add a little something to this?
How come you never have comments for other people, but you always have one when I speak? He's like, I didn't even say I'm finished yet, and he's going, he knows it's coming, so it uploads his
Well, maybe because y'all discuss these things a lot of times together, so you're just kind of used to always entering into a discussion, that could be it. Whereas, unless he comes here when I give the class, I never sit down with Shastra, with Krishna Shrai, we sometimes talk some sort of devotional business around here, but I really don't get into Bhagavad Gita or anything,
I do have a quick comment.
Yeah.
This Srimad Bhagavatam study guide by Aruna,
How you pronounce it?
Aruda Devidasi.
I don't know.
Did I pronounce that right?
I don't know. I can't see.
Mataji from Idaho that wrote
Yeah.
Yeah.
She has some themes written down. Like the first section is the Lord is behind everything. The second section of verses, which we've already covered, is hearing and association purifies. The last section we did before this was freedom from Kali, and this section is receiving a guest. And just learning etiquette, Vaishnava etiquette, we should give a seat, water, and sweet words of welcome. And Pritchett didn't get any of that, and he kind of went off.
Yeah.
The dead snake thing.
But you can't expect that when somebody's not home. And although the sage was home because he was in trance,
He was
you
somewhere
really couldn't
else.
expect that, you know?
He was somewhere else. That's a good point. The next section is don't judge, and the last section is tolerance and forgiveness versus anger and revenge. It says that, and I've experienced it from devotees in this community too, that they say, oh, have a seat. Would you like some water? It's so nice to see you. And so they cover those bases. So
Nowadays, nowadays people don't walk long distances to see each other. They're either neighbors or they drive a car. They're not thirsty. They don't need a place to sit that bad. You know, it's like all we go through the formalities, but people don't really need it.
But we personally bought some nice cups, disposable cups, and we have filtered water, and we picked up some new seats.
Do we know where the cups are? I know.
Yeah.
But when people come here, they need stuff like that because they've left their homes and they're a long way from home and they're here, and unless they go rent a motel and pay money, then, you know, they're kind of like here at Our Mercy as our guest. Does anybody know who has the car from Alabama and is staying in the we call sannyasi quarters?
You don't know?
No, I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't put them in there.
They just showed up.
I didn't put them in there.
They didn't wake up for the morning program, that's for sure.
No one knew who it is. Somebody must have knew what they were doing.
Could they be from the Birmingham, Tuscaloosa?
That's what I would speculate.
University of Alabama.
I would think they have, since the car said Alabama.
Should we
It
go
wasn't
to-
somebody that I had
Late though, when, it's
scheduled.
still late when that car came. It was
Oh.
late. It's funny they didn't touch base.
Should we give them a courtesy knock?
Because the door's locked.
Yeah, I'll check on them later, you know. So.
I was going to ask you actually,
Give them
what
water.
you don't know, if that's somebody that would like to give class tomorrow, because I forgot to ask anybody to give class. It's Vedanta Kru's turn.
Either him or Gokula, huh?
Which brings
Because
up,
you did say last week it was Gokula's turn.
I didn't ask Vedanta Kru yet, so if you want to ask Gokul Ranjan.
Well, one of those two, you know, we'll
I
find
can
out.
ask Vedanta Kru, but
Is it,
Should I
if
is
you
it
want
here?
Gokul Ranjan.
Is it about the class?
Well, Gokula may be too short of a notice, so